can ice cubes replace your CPU cooler? I mean, without a fan, it will be a challenge. Yeah, I don't know if this will be like with nothing else or with an ice cube edit. Also, wouldn't the ice cube melt? Like, it wouldn't really last. We shall see. Okay.
Can we use ice cubes to prevent a running CPU from overheating? After all, if you touch an ice cube to a room temperature processor, it'll melt instantaneously, which is super
That
cool
fast?
and shows just how good the IHS is at transferring heat. So what'll happen if we instead touch an ice cube to a heated up running processor? Well, today we are going to put it to the test, as well as experiment with a handful of other cooling methods, such as using a can of compressed air and its electronic variation. So stick around to see which of these ridiculous cooling methods can actually keep a CPU cool, and which ones cause the CPU to quite literally start melting. Hey everyone, I'm Mryeester, your tech tinkerer, and today's video is sponsored by AI Camp.
Like,
who
I'm
enables
sure
students to explore the field of artificial intelligence.
ice will be cold enough for it. I just don't know if it won't kill the computer because of all the melted parts.
Prior to going to college, AI Camp offers an immersive and project-based 3-week program that caters to your goals and interests while preparing you to be self-sufficient and industry-ready in the world of AI. Previous student projects include using AI to detect wildfires, classify garbage, and even identify endangered marine species.
So
If these types of projects sound interesting to you, AI Camp's upcoming summer program is now accepting scholarship applications.
Wait, is this a class to teach you how to build AIs? Because that's crazy.
10% of all accepted students received a full ride scholarship, with 60% of all accepted students receiving partial scholarships. Check out the top link in the description below to fill out your AI Camp scholarship application today. And finally, if you're a student who already has outstanding experience with artificial intelligence, AI Camp is also seeking mentors to teach others during the summer program. If that sounds like you, then fill out the second link below to apply as a mentor, where you can spread your love for machine learning while getting paid to develop personal projects and cultivate your portfolio. Regardless of if you're a student or a mentor, AI Camp is a great opportunity to further explore the field of artificial intelligence.
That's crazy.
And can even lead to some amazing internship opportunities down the road upon successful completion of the program. Thanks again to AI Camp for sponsoring today's video. Back to our tech tinkering. As you may know, when your CPU performs various tasks such as rendering footage or spinning up a video game, it draws electricity to course through its billions and billions of transistors in order to function properly. This action results in producing a lot of heat, and left unchecked, if a CPU gets too hot beyond its own operating temperature, it'll implode.
Implode?
In reality,
like
your
that.
computer will simply shut down in order to stop feeding the CPU electricity and give it a chance to cool down to prevent any actual damages.
I don't know if this method, once again, I'm just worried about the ice cube like melting and the liquid getting on the CPU. So, but I'm sure he has like an idea for how to make this work.
But if this forced shutdown happens while you're, say, in the middle of your Battle Royale's final circle, you're not going to be having a good time.
Side note, I think this guy, what's Tyler something, right? Isn't he famous for his headphone shaping the top of his head, or was that like actually like a photoshopped picture of him? I don't know, but I've seen a picture of his like top of head flat, because he was wearing headphones for too much. I don't know if it's a meme or for real, but after seeing that photo, I swapped to earbuds instead of headphones because it like made me so scared my head was gonna get shaved like that if I wear it too much playing video games and streaming.
You're not going to be having a good time. That's why in modern gaming PCs and even workstation computers, we manage the temperature of our processors with active cooling, mainly in the form of CPU air coolers or AIO water cooling. CPU coolers are generally composed of two parts. First, a metal block made up of copper or sometimes even aluminum, which sits right on top of the processor to
I'm like looking at my computer to see if I see something
and second,
similar.
a spinning fan or water pump to help dissipate the collected heat away from the metal block with either air or water. These designs are pretty nice because they allow us to increase or decrease the amount of active cooling based on the current temperature of the CPU. For example, if our computer is simply running one tab of Google Chrome, we can tell the air cooler's fan to spin at 20% capacity. But when we open up a second tab of Google Chrome, which for some reason uses all of our computer's resources, we can set our fans to full blast, preventing our CPU from overheating. Now that we understand typical...
make stuff like this? How? I wish I know. His head's kind of like that, but I bet it's a Photoshop. Oh, so it's kind of exaggerated. I saw that, I'm like, wait, is that really possible? Like, in the extreme case, if you wear headphones too much. So I just swapped to earbuds. And it's working for me fine, but he inspired me to change it.
Types of cooling, let's toss it out the window because today's focus is on ridiculous ways to keep our CPU
Yes,
cool.
ice cube.
First up, ice cubes. What happens if we use frozen water to try to cool our CPU? On paper, it seems like it could work. They're cold, and we use them to cool things down.
In a little container, I'm thinking.
Like hot soup or tea. So why can't it cool a CPU? What could go wrong? Well, for starters, as they melt, the water could be conductive and completely short out our computer, which is not ideal. So to avoid that, we're going to be using these handy metal cups to house our cubes, and then simply place these cups directly on our processor with a bit of thermal paste squished between for some extra good luck and better heat transfer. With our plan of attack for ice cube set up, let's first actually grab a quick baseline temperature measure of how hot our system runs under normal circumstances. That way we have something to compare our ice cube cooling to down the road. So actually, we will need that air cooler that we just threw away.
But once the ice melts, it will not go back to being ice. So this is just temporary shot then.
Bingo. This older Intel system will be our guinea pig for this experiment. And in fact, this processor, an i5-3470, is a veteran of sorts when it comes to tech tinkering. The CPU has survived ketchup, mustard, honey, lotion, shampoo, rubber toys, Nutella.
So I guess he does this quite a lot, this kind of crazy testing. Create my own AI? Oh, what is this? Nutella? Oh my gosh. I don't know. I can't even do coding. I only know like super mega super simple coding that you need for like changing like little things on a website or on like Twitch about me page. I don't even know coding, so AI just seems like a way out there. Print hello world? Wait, what? In what language do you say hello world? What do you mean? What language? How do I? Wait, I don't understand this. Oh, is it? Is it coding exercise? I never took like an official class. Although I did. I think there's some like games that you can play, and it teaches you how to code as you are playing the game because you're trying to like achieve what the game like tells you to do. I think that'd be like a really fun way to learn some basics. It's the first thing you do. Ah, I see. A cute cat emote. I love that. It's so adorable. I don't know if I have time to learn a language. I think I want like actual language than like actual language as in like Japanese, Chinese, or something like Spanish. I would love to learn Spanish, instead of codes, because I think that's probably also because I don't know what I would do with them. If I have a project in mind, I would be more inspired to. I would watch Namu learn coding on game. Oh, is there a good games that you guys know of that? I could look it up too, but maybe that would be a fun stream, like off game.
You name it, spread all
This
over
is
it
crazy.
instead of thermal paste, and is somehow still going strong. And
That
PS,
doesn't
if you
look
can think of any
right.
other thermal paste alternatives that we should try next,
No.
feel free to let me know down in the comments. So back to our Intel system, let's install our CPU fan and run a quick stress test. I like to use MSI Afterburner to track my computer's temperatures, and in this case, we'll want to pay attention to the top left line graph, which is where our CPU's temperature will be displayed over time.
I feel like this video is so cool to watch, especially for people who understand how like computers are built and stuff. Like this looks cool, but I'm like a lot of things are just going over my head and I don't even know, like I don't even recognize anything. But for people who do, they must be like, meh, this is so cool, yes.
To run the stress test itself, let's use Prime 95 to max out our processor at full capacity in order to heat things up. With the stress test underway, thanks to the CPU cooler pulling heat away from the processor, as you can see, after a few minutes, the temperature settles well below 60 degrees Celsius. So this will be our benchmark moving forward and the true goal that we'll set for ice cubes to try and beat.
They want
and
it
with
to be
that, we're
60?
ready for the ridiculous stuff. So let's go and grab some fresh ice cubes and put them to the test. If you follow my
Celsius, isn't that super high? Hello, senor. Oh, speaking of wanting to learn Spanish. Hola, senor. Do you have more artistic brain or technical brain? I think I will say artistic than technical just because I've like actually like done projects that's art related and like building like a machine or fixing something. But even people who do those kind of projects, I feel like they are artistic. They're still, I see it as a creative thing to do. Basically, CPU is a computable brain. When PC works, brain heats up. Hot equals bad. Gotcha. There's a mix of both usually. Yeah, I think so too. I think when someone has like has both sides, like they pop off.
TikTok or YouTube Shorts, then it should not be surprising at all to see this entire ice tray filled with frozen CPUs. And if you're not up to speed, I'm pulling out one of these
Wouldn't
frozen
that kill
CPUs
it?
each month for the next 3 months.
If it freezes CPU in water like that, wouldn't this destroy it or would it withstand? Hey.
Letting them thaw and then testing them in a computer to see what kind of damage ice can cause them over time. If that sounds cool to you,
Is
make
that
sure you
dumpling?
subscribe so you don't miss it. Today, however, is a different kind of CPU ice experiment. So let's grab these normal ice cubes and bring them back down to our workshop.
Ice ASMR.
Okay, now we can toss our traditional CPU air cooler out the window because
No,
we'll
he
replace it
broke
with
it.
our cup of ice. After applying a bit more thermal paste and setting down our cup of ice, I actually lied and we do need to fetch out that CPU air cooler once again. This does actually need to be plugged into the CPU
Wait,
fan
hold on,
header,
hold on,
even
hold
though
on.
CPU air cooler once again. This does actually need to.
Doesn't this hold on, hold on, I ruined it. Doesn't this look like a smiley face? Like these are the googly eyes? Googly eyes and he's smiling. No. That's the first thing I saw.
Be plugged into the CPU fan header, even though it's not installed in the motherboard, because the system actually won't even power on if it knows that there's no cooler installed. If only it knew it was in the safe
It's so
hands of
smart.
ice. Well, we don't actually know if it's really safe or not, but right now we're gonna find out. Powering on the system with the ice cup installed, we can see that so far so good. It hasn't yet shut itself
It's
down from
Adam.
overheating. Well, that's a
He
good sign.
doxed
Let's add a
himself.
bit of strain
He
by
plays Among Us.
good.
Let's see.
It hasn't yet shut itself down from overheating.
Plays Among Us. Call of Duty. Oh, Limbo. I heard this game is good. Super Meat Boy. This game is often on sale for like $1.99. It's like a platformer, right? Okay. Now I was learning cooking on motherboard. It looks like they're cooking on this for sure.
Well, that's a good sign. Let's add a bit of strain by pulling up the same exact stress test that we just ran a moment ago. Think the ice will outperform the active CPU fan cooler? Last chance to make up your mind. Launching the stress test in 3, 2,
I feel like it will work.
and
Temperature-wise, it
almost
should
immediately,
work.
we can see the CPU temperature start to increase and climb up
Uh-oh.
super high. And quite quickly, the ice cube appears to be soaking up and dissipating some of the heat that's being produced by this processor. And actually, look at that. As the ice cube actively melts, the temperature of the
Wait.
CPU gradually begins to fall.
What if you can cook on this? Actually, not as like a meme, but like actually. This is my CPU stove. Welcome to my kitchen.
Even though high 90-degree readings is quite hot for a CPU, the fact that the temperature is responding and falling at all shows that ice actually has at least some potential to cool the computer. As we
Not for
continue to let the stress
long,
test
I
run, the ice
assume.
cube continues to soak up the excess heat, slowly
going
but
down.
surely disappearing into the soupy water.
It's
If
almost
only
gone.
the Titanic could see this now, I'm sure it'd make it very happy. And after a couple minutes, the ice cube is basically gone altogether.
So,
And
does this
now, with
have to
only a cup of
evaporate?
water sitting on top of the processor, the temperature of the CPU slowly starts to climb again. Eventually, this water will actually
Dang.
boil away, leaving behind an empty cup. Okay, so maybe what we need to do is simply replace the cup of ice every time it melts in order to sustain reasonable CPU temperatures.
Imagine that's how you like what we need to do to use computer. Every 10 minutes, I'm like adding more ice cube pots onto my computer in the middle of game.
After all, that's what they do in Futurama to keep the Earth nice and cool. So grabbing a second metal cup, let's hot swap our ice to see if we can bring down the temperature with some fresh juice. And with our replacement ice applied, we can in fact see small improvements to the cooling of the processor. But overall, it feels like it might be too little too late. At this point, it's safe to say that ice can in fact be used to cool off a processor in place of a CPU cooler, only if you're okay with a fraction of the actual cooling performance, and as long as you remember to replace the ice every couple minutes or so. Honestly, that's not too bad. I'm pretty happy with it. But now I'm curious what'll happen if we instead replace this cup of ice with a spray from a can of compressed air. If a CPU fan just pushes air around to help dissipate heat, that's basically what this does in can form, right? Well,
Confession, I have still not yet used that duster or spray thing. So I've never like dusted my computer, and I wonder if I should. If I want this computer to last me for a very, 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 very long time, but I don't know how. Like, which part of it do I spray? It looks pretty clean to me. If I look at it, are there a little bit of dust? Kind of, but I guess I'm afraid if I spray it, it'll get the dust deeper inside cracks that I actually don't want it to sit in. You should every 6 months is a good interval. Maybe I should look into this. Yeah. It reminded me when he was holding that spray.
Let's find out by resetting up our system and relaunching the stress test. Without any type of cooling, we can see the CPU temperature ramp up super quickly. And as we spray the processor with our compressed air, we can actually see that we effectively pause the climbing temperature momentarily. Look how it flatlines.
Yes,
how cool is
spray
that?
nonstop.
Now, eventually the temperature does start to climb again as we can't continuously blow air out of this can. But it is neat to see the heat being dissipated in this manner. And so if we think a non-continuous airflow is our issue, then let's try using this electronic air duster, which can in fact run continuously. With that up and running and pointed at our CPU, we can see that the temperature only budges a degree or two.
Ooh,
at this point in the experiment, the CPU might just be a little too hot to handle. And if we look very closely, at this point, something on the CPU is beginning to liquefy, so we should probably shut this all down before we do any real damage. With that, I think it's time to give this CPU some much-deserved rest. So, in conclusion, these ridiculous ways of cooling a CPU actually showed some promise today. We saw that ice was somewhat effective if you were able to constantly swap it out with fresh ice, and our can of compressed air effectively paused the rising temperature of the processor. All in all, a pretty fun experiment. I hope you had fun watching and maybe even learned a thing or two about CPU cooling. That's all I have for you today, so make sure to subscribe for more tech tinkering, and as always, I will catch you guys in the next one. Cool. See you later.
I thought that he was gonna... I mean, I guess it makes sense what he did, where the ice actually doesn't directly touch the CPU. But even then, it's like, it's not a reliable. For like 10 minutes though, it could work. You could use it as a stove as well. Realized. Let's go, that's kind of fun experiment. Something I would never do because I don't know how to set it up. If you're brave, you should open up the case. Yeah. Maybe one day I'll be brave. Maybe. Right now, my CPU and everything, it just stays inside the case and just stays in there untouched. Unlike this one here.